What's going on, guys? Albie with Albie Fitness Gaming, and you've seen the title of the video. You know why you're here. Green White Company, Green White Hate Bears, Green White Death and Taxes. All these names fit the deck. I prefer to call it just Green White Taxes. Anyways, so for those of you who already watched some of my videos and been following me, you know that this is my jam right here. This is my gimmick. This is what I do. I play Green White Death and Taxes style decks. I also play the mono white versions. I like to think that I'm pretty good with these cards. I've been playing them for a long time. I like to brew with them, but I stay within my wheelhouse, and that's what I enjoy doing. So today, we're going to go over the current list that I am playing. I've been doing very good with this list. I'm going to go over the card choices, why certain cards are not in there, and maybe why we could be testing other cards, and then we'll go into a match. So let's go into the deck here. So we're playing 23 lands. Normally I play 22 lands, but because we are going with Collected Company, for those who watched my videos before, you know that I played a list that did not play Collected Company or Eighth of Vial, so it was just like equipment and hate bears. So we are upping up our land. We're not playing the full 8 mana dorks because we do have a lot of 2-drops and they're very, very good in this deck. But let's go over the lands. So we have 5 forests here, a Gavony Township, 4 Ghost Quarters. Ghost Quarter in this deck is not here to mana screw the opponent, but rather to pump up your knight with nice attacking sequences and surprises, or to get rid of any problematic lands that your opponent has. 3 Horizon Canopies. It's okay to play 23 lands because we can cycle through our lands here, and then we have mana dorks to help us take advantage of this. 2 Plains, 2 Temple Gardens, 4 Winsett Heath, and 2 Wooded Foothills. Obviously, this green fetch land could be any green fetch land. It could be Misty Rainforest, it could be Verdant Catacomb. It doesn't even matter. We could probably, if you really want to get super tech, we could use Misty Rainforest. That way our opponent thinks that we're playing Bant. And we can also replace our forests with snow-covered forests, snow-covered plains, so they think they were playing Bant Snow. You could do that if you want. Extra tech, why not? It's free. We have 6 mana dorks. We have 2 birds, 4 Noble Hierarchs. Exalted is king in this deck. That's why we prefer the Noble Hierarchs. Bird of Paradise, not a slouch because it does give you not only ramp, but it is a flyer, and we do play equipment, so that can be a thing, especially with Exalted. 4 Stoneforge Mystics, very powerful 2-drop in Modern. It gives you your equipment, also card advantage. 3 Thalia, Guardian of Thraben. This is one of your hate cards. This is going to be able to slow down the opponent from whatever they're trying to do and allow us to progress our game state by slowing them down as well. 1 Fano Shaman, a fun of. We do have Collected Company, so we're going to see this card more often than not. Fano Shaman has been a very, very good card. I've been testing this card in Heliod Company versions. Amazing. And some of my other Green White Death and Taxes lists. It's been really good, and we'll get into the sideboard and how powerful this card is. For some reason, people are not killing Fano Shaman when they see it in play. I don't think they really understand. Now, we're not a combo deck, so we're not fetching like a combo piece, but a lot of the times we are fetching a creature that's going to end the game. We have the 1 of Scrib Ranger. Scrib Ranger, amazing with your mana dorks, amazing with your Knight of the Reliquary, just an overall solid 2-drop creature here. Very good to use for combat tricks. It's won me a lot of games over a long time. We have 4 Voice of Resurgence, the greatest card known to man in Magic's history. They're not going to ban this card even though it's completely cracked because it's Voice of Resurgence, and that would destroy the history and the game that we know as Magic the Gathering. And then we would hit another pandemic and the world will probably end. Therefore, very important card to never ban and to always play. And then we have here Archon. Another really great hate bear here. Goes very well with the Thalia, like I've spoken before in a lot of my other decks. These two cards here in play can really slow down the opponent anywhere from 2 to 3 turns, which is going to allow us to get a huge advantage and close out the game with some of our bigger threats or smaller threats with equipment. So very good at not allowing our opponent to do what they're trying to do. Skyclave Apparition. I say it once, I'll say it again. It is the best card in a long time that's been printed for these style of decks. It is the reason that these decks are as popular and as good as they are currently. I think they're going to get better as we get better tools, but this card really just helps us answer any problem that we ever had while playing these decks. Night of the Reliquary, that is the card of the deck. That is the one that's going to shut the game down extremely quick. It does a lot of things. It's usually the biggest creature on board. It holds equipment very well. It helps ramp us if we have to play multiple spells a turn. And it kills and ends the game extremely fast. All tied together with Collected Company helps us see these cards more often than not. Some people may say Thalia and Collected Company, not a good combination. But if you notice here, we're not playing any Path to Exiles. Reason is we have Skyclave, which we can get with this and we could ramp out. And Skyclave hits pretty much everything in Modern. So that's why we're not playing that. So we're only really playing 4 spells. I mean, I don't really count the equipment as spells, but that is that for the deck. Cards that I would entertain possibly playing here. I can see removing the Thalias here and maybe playing things like Scavenging Ooze, Pride Mage, things of that nature. I think Thalia is just better positioned right now because it really does slow down a lot of decks currently, and sometimes all we need is that 1 or 2 turn to get ahead and end the game. So I think it's really important, and it goes very good with the Archon like I've mentioned. These 2 cards together in play are just very devastating for a lot of decks to handle. We don't have room for Giver of Ruins, unfortunately, because we are playing Collected Company, and we definitely want at least 6 Mana Dorks in order to be able to cast these things on time. And because we do have equipment, the Mana Dorks and Gavony Township that can be fetched out Night of Reliquary, and because we're also getting tokens off of this, they're going to be extremely huge because of these guys. I just feel that this is a better version without Giver of Ruins, right? Let's go into the sideboard. We got 4 Path to Exile. Sometimes there's going to be creatures that you just have to get rid of immediately. You don't have time to be casting Skyclaves or looking for them. You need something fast and efficient. Path to Exile is your answer for that. Aven Mindcensor, solid card, very good against random decks, any decks that fetch, which is most decks in Modern. Very good. I usually, against Tron, Scathe Shift, powerhouse card. But overall, it's just a great card. For example, like that, you're going to go against decks where Thalia just doesn't do anything. You could always bring in Aven Mindcensor to cover that. It's just a solid card all around. 4 out of 10 at its worst. We have 2 Mirian Crusaders. Mirian Crusader, another card that's just a house. Because we have Collected Company, we have a higher probability of hitting it in our games. We have 3. This card is just extremely aggressive against a lot of decks, like Elves. Decks that you think it wouldn't be that good against, it is amazing against. Black, any black-green rock decks, they can't beat this card. Jund could get around it, with Lightning Bolt and things like that, but that's pretty much all they have. It's Lightning Bolt or bust, or this card is just going to take over. And with equipment, forget about it. Hey! Forget about it. Then we have Linvala. 1 Linvala, Keeper of Silence. There's a lot of Heliod Company decks out there. There's a lot of combo decks. There's a lot of decks where the creatures use a lot of, have a lot of activated abilities. Linvala is just a beast. But Albie, you're only playing 1 Linvala and you're playing Collected Company. How are you going to get that to play that day? Fano Shaman, baby. We got the one of Fano Shaman, the fun of. So we're allowed to play a lot of these 1-drops that are 4-drops, even though we're not going to hit them with company, right? We can play these 2-drops, 3-drops, and hit them with company. But Fano Shaman really helps us play all these cards more efficiently because we can either hit them, draw them, or hit the Fano Shaman to fetch them out. Thank you, Collected Company. God bless. So we've covered these. We have the Linvala. Let's go over. We have the One of Scavenging Ooze. Just solid card. Tireless Tracker. That's for your grindy matchups. Very good with Knight of the Reliquary and Script Ranger. Replaying lands. Generating a lot of value. Then we have Questing Beast. This is really good against the control decks, especially decks that are windmill slamming planeswalkers, because not only does it have haste, it does not allow a lot of chump blockers to block it, and you can not only attack the opponent but also take care of the planeswalker at the same time. Very aggressive card, very good card. And then we have Thrawn the Last Troll. This is a card that I used to play back in the day in Maverick because it was like you needed it. I still think it's decent. Obviously, the power creep on creature cards is a lot higher now. There's a lot better creatures, but I still think Thrawn is pretty solid against control decks because he can't be countered and he has hexproof and you can regenerate him. So he's a very, very hard threat to get rid of. Sigara is... The only problem with Sigara is that it's 5 mana. I mean, and it doesn't have hexproof. Does it? No, I don't think it has hexproof. Does it? I don't remember if Sigarda... Does Sigarda? No, I don't know. Anyways, the main thing is this is a 4-drop. It's a lot easier to cast. It has hexproof and you can regenerate it and it can't... Oh wait, Sigarda does have hexproof, but it can be countered. This cannot be countered, which is extremely relevant against, Cryptic Command decks, right? Like, you windmill slam this, they can't Cryptic bounce it, they can't kill it. If they Supreme Verdict, I don't know if it allows you to regenerate. I would have to double check that, but let's just pretend you can't regenerate. But overall, very hard card to get rid of, can win you the game. Then we have Spellskite, just a random card here that is good against a lot of matchups. Again, it's one of those cards that's like extremely good against Boggles, right? You just win the game. But then against other matchups where you have to protect some of your pieces and maybe your Thalia is not good or maybe Archon is not good, you can always replace it with that. So a solid card. So here is the deck here, my friends. We're going to go ahead and jump into the matchup here. So this is, so I'm looking at this hand here, and this hand is, it's a good hand. It has everything that we need. I'm not a big fan, obviously, that we only have one land, but if we draw into a land, then we're going to have a really, really powerful hand here. We could have molded this, and look for another land, but like at this point, we're going to be able to, assuming we play this Noble, we're going to be able to cast most of the cards in our hand, and if the Stoneforge survives, we can get down the battlefield. So overall, it's a decent hand. So we end up drawing a forest here, which is perfect. This just made this hand extremely good. And our opponent is playing some type of black-white, deck at this point. I don't really know what my opponent is playing here. But whatever it is, all I'm thinking is our hand is pretty well suited up to play against this. If they're a heavy removal deck, we have Voice of Resurgence. We have Stoneforge Mystic to generate value as well. We have Skyclave to get rid of any threat that we see that we're not expecting. We have Ramp, and we have Collected Company to flood the board. So I see this card, and I immediately know, okay, so our opponent's playing some kind of Cleric deck, right? So they're probably... The gimmick behind their deck, I'm assuming at this point, is you're probably going to want to be gaining a bunch of life and pumping creatures similar to Soul Sisters. So that's the idea I'm getting right now. Okay, that's probably what their game plan is. That's probably what the gimmick is on this deck. But at the same time, I'm not familiar with these cards, so I need to be careful. Because I know, hey, I have an idea what my opponent's trying to do, but I'm not 100% sure of what cards they're playing. Like, I really have no idea what cards are played in these decks. So, because of that, I go with what I would consider the safest bet. Let's just go with the Stoneforge Mystic. Worst case scenario, it dies, we can go into Collected Company. If it doesn't die, now we have access to a Batterskull and a Voice of Resurgence in the same turn. Well, technically we'll play the Voice on our turn and the Batterskull at the end of their turn, but you know what I mean. So, we're just trying to cover all our bases here, making sure we don't get blown out by any surprise. So here's another creature that I've never seen, so I go ahead and take some time here to read it, pretty much understand it, and try to get an idea, okay, is this just a creature that's going to gain life? Could this potentially be a piece of a combo to go infinite somehow? Is it going to be a problem if I leave it alone for a couple of turns? Is it something that I could leave alone for a few turns and then take care of it later in the game when it actually becomes a threat, since I do have a Skyclave? These are all the things that I'm going and processing while I'm doing this, man. So it's a lot. But that's why we enjoy playing this game, because it keeps us extremely stimulated mentally. Alright, so opponent here, growing their cleric fairly large. So I'm assuming they want to kill this creature here because they want to cast it from their graveyard. Which, the way that I'm thinking is, if that's the worst, most powerful thing you're currently doing, if that's what you're doing, that's okay. We're fine with that. Like, we can overpower that. So here, opponent didn't play anything too threatening, so we're going to stick to the plan here. We're just going to play Voice of Resurgence and keep our Batterskull up. And we also have the Skyclave here. Keep in mind, opponent does not know that we have Batterskull. Why is that relevant? That's relevant because there's a possibility that our opponent makes a bad decision when attacking, because they're thinking maybe they'll play the Skyclave and they'll have a 4/4. And that's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping my opponent thinks, hey, they picked out the sword. Some people will pick up on it, like they'll say like, oh, he picked the sword because he already has the Batterskull, because 9 times out of 10 you always grab the Batterskull. But some people don't pick up on stuff like that. Some people are just like, oh, he just picked up a sword. But most of the time, if somebody plays a Stoneforge and they grab a sword, it's because they have a Batterskull in their hand. Alright? So always keep that in mind. So opponent, like I mentioned, Unearth, gonna bring this up, turn it into a 5/5 flying creature. So just like I figured, this is probably one of their big bad booty daddy plans for the game plan. They have one card in hand. I'm looking at their gimmick. I'm looking at what they're doing right now, and all I'm thinking, okay, so this is what this deck is pretty much going to probably do, is just generate a bunch of life and boost and pump up their creatures. Nothing too threatening, nothing that we can't overcome. So I'm feeling pretty confident here, especially if this opponent attacks here with their cleric, which they do. So I'm like, all right, perfect. We're going to be able to kill this guy and not even worry, and we can now save our Skyclave for something else. So now the question for my opponent is, and this is the part that I want to know from you guys, anybody who plays this deck, this black and white cleric deck, or maybe you have some type of knowledge more than I do on this deck. The opponent makes a questionable decision here that I don't know if it's right. I don't think it is. I go ahead and block with the Voice and the Batterskull because my train of thought is we're going to kill their dude and we're going to have one of our guys. I'm thinking they're going to kill the Germ token. That's what I'm thinking. Right? But at the same time, if they kill the Germ token, like, we can only equip it, but, you know, that kind of sets back our game plan, right? Instead, the opponent here decides to kill the Voice of Resurgence, which I find very interesting because it kills their creature, their biggest creature. It gives us a 4/4 and it leaves our 4/4 Vigilance lifelink in play, and at the same time they know we have a Skyclave sword in our hand that we can play and now have the biggest creature on board with lifelink and flying and vigilance. Plus we get a 4/4 and you have one card in your hand, which tells me it's not a removal because you could have just killed the Germ token. I'm not saying that was a bad play. I'm just saying it's a little questionable and I don't understand it. Maybe you guys can comment at the bottom and let me know if that was a right play, if not, or if it was trash, or what you could have done differently there. Anyway, so after that attack, now I'm just like, okay, I mean, you know you're in a good position when you really don't even know what you want to play because you have so many good cards. I mean, we can go with the Skyclave Operation, get rid of their 4/4 flyer, which we will. But most importantly here, now we get to attach this sword and get in for 6 and have the biggest creature on board. And did I mention that it has flying, vigilance, and lifelink? For the love of God! So now, you know, I'm just hoping, okay, we're going to be able to get in for 7 here with the Exalted. Next turn, we're going to attack with the token. The token's going to be massive. And we're also going to be able to windmill slam our collected company. So, opponent here has the option of blocking, which is fine for us, or not blocking. It doesn't even matter. At this point, it doesn't matter how much life they really gain, because our clock is going to be too fast for them to handle anyways. And once our board takes over, that's it. So Skyclave here, operation. We're going to get rid of that dude right there, that 4/4 flyer. And again, like I mentioned before, sure, they're gaining life, whatever. That's fine. If that's the best thing you're going to be doing this game, we're not worried about that. So we take care of that. Unfortunately, on my end right now, since I'm not too familiar with the deck that they're playing, I have no idea. I have to assume we have a really good position, but I have no idea whether or not, we're going to be able to just win next turn. I mean, for all I know, they have some mass removal thing and they wipe our board completely, and and they make a comeback. I don't know. So another dude here that I really don't know what he does. Excuse me. And they have one card in hand. So, looking at their creatures, looking at what their deck's doing. Again, nothing too crazy, nothing that, I'm kind of worried about at this point. Not really. And we have a commanding position here. But we need to be aware that there could be surprises. Low chance. So now we draw the operation here, and we could cast company here, but there's literally no reason to do that, okay? We have a board state that they cannot handle, and after we cast this guy, it's pretty much over. And we have to keep this company in hand rather than just casting it and, gambling here like a degenerate. Because if they do have a sweeper, the company could put us back in the game. So that's one thing to keep in mind, guys. When you are playing these style of decks, okay, the things that really wreck us are sweepers, especially when you're winning already. Once you've already got to the point where you're winning through combat, you don't necessarily always have to continue extending your board, okay? Especially if you're playing against a deck that you're not familiar with, or a deck that plays mass removal. Because the last thing you want to do is overextend, get blown out, and then you lose the game. Like in that game right there, sure, we could have played company. Playing company or the operation, either or is fine. But playing the operation is a safer bet because we take one of their threats. If they happen to wipe our board, it sucks, but at least we still have 2 equipments, and now we have a company. Even if we hit 2 birds with the company, we still have the equipment to equip them with. So, we're just in a better position playing it like that. It may seem like a small decision, but Modern is crazy, man. People play crazy stuff all the time. And if you don't know what you're playing against, man, just play. You want to play aggressively because you want to win, but at the same time, when you can protect yourself by playing a little safe and still progressing your board, take that option. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. If there's any feedback, please comment at the bottom. Let me know. Okay, they're going to do maintenance. That's cool. Let me know what you guys think about the deck. Any suggestions, comment at the bottom. Let me know if the person could have played that deck a little bit better. Give me some scoop on that so we can all learn together. Don't forget to like my video, subscribe, and share. It helps the channel out a lot. And again, man, thank you guys for watching, and peace out. Ah!